Back before urgent care, Google, and when doctors were still rare, people had to rely on whatever knowledge they could get their hands on to survive. That meant passing down tricks, hacks, and advice from generation to generation. Some of it was superstition, but some of it actually worked. These so-called old wives' tales weren't just for folklore. For people that lived miles from a doctor or that were scraping by without a dime to spare, these methods were the only first aid kit they had. Now, fast forward to today, a grid-down situation, or any SHTF scenario where supplies run dry and help isn't coming. Suddenly, those strange old remedies don't sound so crazy anymore. In fact, some of them could be the difference between healing and recovery, or pain, misery, and possibly worse. Take like cobwebs for wounds. I know it sounds wacko until you realize that clean spiderwebs were actually used to stop bleeding and promote clotting. They're rich in vitamin K, which helps with blood coagulation, and the web itself can act kind of like natural gauze. It's not a replacement for proper wound care, obviously, but if you're in the woods or you're out of supplies, it might just hold things together until you can do better. And then there's honey. Raw, unfiltered honey isn't just food, it's medicine. People used it to treat cuts, burns, and sore throats. It seals a wound, keeps out dirt and bacteria, and actively fights infection. Even today, modern hospitals use specially prepared medical honey for burn victims. So if you've got honey in your stockpile, it will do double duty. A toothache in the middle of nowhere or an SHTF is a horrible pain to deal with. Before dental clinics were around every corner, people chewed on cloves to numb the pain. That's because clove contains a natural compound that works like a mild anesthetic and an antiseptic. It doesn't fix the tooth, but it buys you a lot of time and relief, something you'll definitely need if there's no dentist available for weeks or even months. How about onions? People used to slice them up and place them on their feet or around the house to draw out sickness. While putting onions in your socks is not going to cure the flu, there's actually more to this remedy than really smelly feet. Onions have antibacterial and anti-inflammatory properties, and they're also an expectorant. They were often used to help fight infection, clear up chest congestion, and ease cold symptoms. Placing raw onion in a sick room may have also helped purify the air to some degree, but onions were also used internally. One old remedy involved layering raw onion slices with sugar to create a syrup for coughs and sore throats. It's a simple, cheap solution when nothing else was available. Another trick was using sliced potatoes or onions on the forehead or in socks to bring down a fever. And it wasn't some kind of magic, it was actually physics. The coolness of the raw vegetables helped reduce surface temperature, and the moisture evaporating from them could help lower body heat just enough to keep someone stable. And when you've got no Tylenol and you're trying to keep someone from overheating, that kind of knowledge is pretty valuable. People also relied heavily on one of my favorites, garlic. They didn't need lab studies to tell them it fought infection. Garlic was crushed and eaten raw or mixed with other ingredients to help fight off colds, coughs, and worse. It's not just folklore. Garlic is full of sulfur compounds that help boost the immune system and fight bacteria. And in a world without antibiotics, garlic would definitely be a must-have. For sore throats, salt water was always the go-to. Warm salt water helps flush out bacteria, reduce swelling, and ease discomfort. It costs next to nothing, and it requires only basic supplies. Even today, it's often recommended before turning to medications. Cabbage leaves were another surprising tool. They were wrapped around swollen joints, bruises, and even used by breastfeeding mothers for engorgement. The cold, damp leaves provided relief and contained compounds that reduce inflammation. It's not high-tech, but it works, and it's reusable. Stomach issues were often treated with peppermint. People knew that sipping peppermint tea or chewing the leaves helped ease cramps, bloating, and nausea. What they didn't know then, but science now confirms, is that peppermint relaxes the muscles in the digestive tract. In a survival scenario, when food poisoning or bad water is a real threat, having something on hand that eases stomach pain is definitely worth its weight. And then there's ginger. Use it for nausea, seasickness, and general stomach upset. People would chew it raw, steep it in a tea, or add it to food. Ginger helps calm the stomach, and it has compounds that reduce inflammation. Even some modern motion sickness pills are based on the same active ingredients found in ginger. Apple cider vinegar was used for everything from heartburn to cleaning wounds. It has strong antibacterial properties and can help balance pH levels on the skin. Diluted, it can be used to clean minor infections or even as a natural deodorizer or foot soak. And in a pinch, it's a multi-use item worth keeping around. Aloe vera was another staple for burns and skin irritation. People did not need a degree or a doctor to know that snapping off a leaf and rubbing the gel on a sunburn made the pain go away. The plant reduces swelling, it promotes healing, and it helps prevent infection. It is still one of the best low-tech solutions for minor burns. Chamomile tea was more than just a bedtime drink. People drank it for nerves, cramps, and indigestion. It has a calming effect that can make a big difference when you're in pain or you're under stress. In a long-term emergency where sleep is hard to come by, but you also don't want to be unable to wake up quickly, something that helps your body settle down is always a good idea to have on hand. And then there's the strangest one, putting a bar of soap under your sheets to stop leg cramps. There is no clear scientific explanation for this one, but tons of people swear it works. Maybe it's a placebo effect. Maybe it's something in the fragrance. Maybe it's pressure point related. But if you're tossing and turning with cramps and this helps, okay, use it. These weren't miracle cures. They were survival tools, ones that will be invaluable in a long-term SHTF scenario. They were born out of hard times, passed down by people who didn't have any other choice, and kept alive because they worked. In a modern world, it's easy to think these old wives' tales are crazy, but in a crisis, you'll be glad you remembered them.